Hey everyone, how's it going? Today we're gonna be talking about TikTok's effect on politics and if it even does have an effect. So recently I just did a research project about this where I did an I searched up this stuff academically, found sources, and came to a conclusion on that, which I'll get into. And then I also I did my own interviews of people I deemed as representative of the population. And so I'll just kind of get into what I was thinking when I first started this. So at first I just saw TikTok as like a fun, entertaining app. It was a way to pass time. It was mostly just it kind of was a pioneer of passive consumption where you're just watching something. It doesn't really have any value. I think most people would say that what they see on TikTok doesn't really have any value. It's kind of more of just something to do. But lately, I've noticed something interesting. As TikTok has become more popular, people have started to use it to learn and talk about politics. Um, and so that made me curious. Like, how can a simple app that was designed for entertainment actually change how people think about politics? And this was kind of my guiding question for my project. And so, to answer this question, like I got into a little bit before, I did some research on what experts have found. I cited credible sources and found what they found. They mostly were based on the algorithm, and they got really into depth about how the algorithm works and there were some things about the effects of that, and yeah, so I was just trying to find the impact. So I did find first that instead of, I think most people knew this, that there was some form of algorithm influence on TikTok. Obviously, you kind of see what you like, even though you'd never really specified what you like. And so basically, yeah, so this just guided my whole question. So does TikTok shape our political opinions, or does it just mostly show us what we already think? So today we'll just explore those questions together. Okay, so for my, just to overview my academic research, yeah, let's just talk about what the experts have found. So research shows that TikTok's special algorithm, basically the program that drives the whole platform, chooses which videos we want to see. It has a big, and it ends up having a big impact on what users think. So the algorithm actually learns from how you interact with videos, and if you like something through the way you watch it. So it's not about interacting, it's not about liking, it's not about commenting. It's about how long you look at it, what you do, maybe you scroll back to it. Any of this stuff is measured, and a lot of times it not knowing to your knowledge, it really assesses what type of person you are. So two important things are to take away from this research. Passive consumption, of course. So basically this means you don't actively choose what videos you want to see, and TikTok was actually a pioneer of this form of content. And then also something that we'll get into is clustered publics. So this was found by one of the research articles, and this is how it describes the small communities that TikTok creates through this way of analyzing what you do. And so specifically, I'm referencing research that was done by a researcher. His name was Gerbaudo, and it means, yeah, it puts users into groups based on similar interests and views. And instead of seeing a variety of opinions, users mostly will see videos from people who they think the same way they do. And this is just how the algorithm works. And so basically, TikTok doesn't just entertain you, it shapes your world by showing you content that matches what you already believe. And this is important, and we'll get into that. So the other thing that I found from my interviews, specifically with two students, I'll just say their first names, Colin and Henri. And so to understand how this works in real life, I decided I need to take a ethnographic view of this, or approach to this, and really get into the actual people affected by this. And I chose these two people because I know that they use TikTok, and I've talked to them before about it, and they have varying political views that I believe encapsulates a lot of the population. And so yeah, so I interviewed them on their habits beforehand, and then I subjected them to a scroll test, and this is what I found. So basically for Colin, he sees political content all the time. He's a political person, and I knew this going into it because he is one of my friends. And he expects it. He even expects it. Like, I was talking to him about this before we did did this test, the scroll test. I'll get into that a little bit later. And he found political videos just after a few scrolls. And this matches what researchers call an echo chamber, meaning that TikTok mostly shows you what you already agree with and reinforces your views, because that's what people most align with, and that for some reason just promotes the most engagement. It makes sense because people like to hear what they already think. And then on the other hand, other end of the spectrum, the other interview I did was with Henri, and his experience was totally different. He rarely sees political videos unless there's something big going on in the news, something that everyone knows about. And during the scroll test, we didn't find any political views at all, political videos, and his experience reflects what I found earlier, which is passive detachment. So this was what researchers would call it. So he's not actively engaged with politics on TikTok, so the algorithm does not push him political content. So the big takeaway here is how different TikTok treats people based on their views and interests. So for Colin, politics are urgent and central to his feed, and then for Henri, it barely appears. So this shows how TikTok creates personalized bubbles around each user, affecting their political awareness in very different ways. So, okay, so this is the scroll test. So basically I gave him a 10-minute timer, and I said, just scroll, let me know if you find anything politically motivated, and we'll talk about it. And yeah, so, and then while you scroll, pay attention, do you see any political content? And then, yeah, once you're done, I asked them, did the political content match what you already believe, or did it challenge you in some way? And questions along these lines. Okay, so what I found. So basically, I found that the only person, so with Henri, we did not find any content, and we actually went above the time, and I was like, just try to find something that would deem political, and he just could not. And then Colin, within about 30 seconds, he found a political video that was very, very heavily leaning toward the left. And so what does this all mean? So TikTok is very different for everyone because the algorithm builds a personal feed just for you. That sounds cool, but this also means that you might only see videos that match your opinions. And this can be classified as an echo chamber, which researchers call it. So that happened with Colin. The app kept showing him political views that he already agreed with. And he even said that in the past, he doesn't really see anything that challenges his views or really any outside political conversations. But he did say that he did have these beliefs before TikTok was even a thing. And his views haven't really changed since having TikTok on any of these things. He's been a little bit more informed on political subjects around his beliefs, but it really hasn't changed what he's thought. So it doesn't really change. So basically the big idea here is TikTok doesn't necessarily change what we believe. It often just shows us what we already think, which is drastically different from what the research, it's pretty different from what the research said. Research would say that I found would say that it really influences your views. It's like just subliminally, hypnotizing you. And it was pretty extreme. But what I found was kind of different. And yeah, so also I had to take in some ethical considerations into this. So while making this video, I thought about how to tell this story fairly. I didn't want to, and I did not want to go with the narrative of young people are just being brainwashed by TikTok, because that's a huge narrative that's going on nowadays, and it's kind of getting old at this point, and I don't believe that that's a thing. So both Colin and Henri thought the choices that they made on like how to engage with the TikTok are they were different, but at the same time they definitely showed how TikTok is not really the issue here. And yeah, also it brought up another point because I was talking to Henri about this, where not everyone wants to post or argue about politics online. And Henri, for example, stays away from political content. He specifically avoids it because he cares about his digital footprint and his privacy. And in current climates, especially with the younger generation, we are trying to find jobs. And he went into this a little bit. We're trying to find jobs, and it's not really helpful to have our political opinions out there on the internet. And also, we don't want those being used against us. And so this kind of goes against the passive consumption narrative that is really being pushed. Like, by a lot of people, and I hear it all the time where it's Gen Z is mindless, they don't care about anything. And I think a lot of it is actually that they're choosing to stay away from it. It's not that they don't care or have an opinion, it's they're choosing to stay away from this political side of TikTok due to the fact that it could be used against them, and they just do not want their digital footprint out there. And so this is kind of my call to action. So I want to hear from you all. I want you to do a scroll test on your feed on TikTok and basically just take about 2 to 3 minutes and just scroll through and actively reflect on what you're seeing. If you see any political content, and are you seeing new ideas, or is it mostly the same? And so drop a comment and tell me what you found. The more we share, the more we can understand how this platform is actually shaping our world. Okay, so thanks for watching, and remember, the algorithm might know you well, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't ask questions, stay curious, and stay aware of what is going on recently. I know I'm not going to get a lot of comments. It's probably just going to be Dr. Catchings, so maybe leave a comment, Dr. Catchings. But yeah, that's about it from me. So thank you everyone for listening.